Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Hello, everybody.
Good evening.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the When Men Speak podcast. As you can see, we got somebody missing. We got somebody missing. Oh, Mr. Marquis. But all is well. We got old brother Coach Heath on the line to hold it down.
Sir, yes, sir.
And we welcoming back Miss Tamara.
Hello, everyone.
And of course, you know we got our sister, Miss Latanya Ingram.
Hello.
So, welcome back, everybody. I hope everybody had a great day today. So, listen, we're going to dive back in and pick up where we left off from last week, the last session we had anyway. And there were some mentions of how we want to move this thing forward. And one of the things I think Coach Heath said it actually, we were talking about creating a safe space for men, as we're talking about men here, creating a safe space. And then I believe it was, I don't know if it was you, Latanya, or Tamara. Somebody said, does disagreeing mean unsafe? Who said that? Y'all remember who said that?
I think it had to be
That was actually something that came in the chat.
Okay, yep.
That was a question that came in the chat, yeah.
Yeah. And then I think some of the things that was mentioned was, I believe Chap said this, talking about weaponizing. And so one of the things I wrote down was unsafe is when it's weaponized against you. Those were one of the things that came out from the last session.
Ooh.
And I also wrote down disagreeing is simply seeing something from a different perspective. Doesn't mean it has to be a negative connotation attached to it because we disagree. Doesn't always mean it's immediately perceived as negative. It shouldn't be anyway. So today we want to dive into the importance of creating a safe space. So the video we want to show you guys is not working for our good on tonight. But I'm going to give you just a synopsis of what the young man was talking about to help us unpack this topic tonight about a safe space. So the brother started off the video saying, you're not Superman. He was talking to men. He was telling them, he said, you're not Superman. And he went a little further saying, Clark Kent identity, but who he had to pretend to be for everyone else. But he was really Superman. But we aren't Superman. So we've got to stop putting this mask on men and trying to be someone that we're not. And so he went further to say, if our response as men is always, I'm good, you know, I got it, you know, it's all good, etc., then we're actually training our women in our lives to get used to eventually stop checking in. Because if my response is always I'm good or I got it, then that is training her to stop checking in, to stop checking in for you. So now this is all what the brother said in the video. We can't expect them to make room for us if we show up without our emotions. So one of the recommendations he gave was to practice identifying your emotions and how to articulate our feelings, because it's not her responsibility to make you feel safe when we're not doing that. So after kind of chewing on that for a little bit, for me, it came down to self first, because I can't expect anything from you if I'm not taking care of me first. So for me, I know that the men that some of the men that I deal with about this issue in particular is, and it was mentioned last session as well, is, in matter of fact, I believe Chap said it, and I think I wrote it down. is am I healed or whole enough to do this? Be in this relationship, be in this situationship, shall I say. So first we got to make sure that we're straight. We got to make sure that I'm healed, I'm whole. I'm not bringing all of that baggage into this relationship, into this thing. I've done my work. I've addressed my issues, my failures, my trauma, my shortcomings, all of these things. So I know one, what I'm bringing into the situation. And I've done the things that I need to do to make sure that what I bring in is not, I hate to use the word mess, but it's not trauma and drama. But I'm bringing my whole self into this thing so that I'm not putting false expectations upon you that I haven't done for myself, if you follow me. All right, I'm gonna pause. I'm gonna pause for some feedback because I see Chap over there spinning, boy. You on mute, Chief?
Me? I'm on mute?
No, Coach Chief.
Oh,
So y'all give me some thoughts on that, on that intro. So that was the video in a nutshell. So initially, what are you guys thinking?
who's gonna chime in?
Anybody who wanna comment?
Okay, so I absolutely agreed with the video. I saw the video today. I actually sent it to Tanya. I sent it to you today, and you put that on your page last night. Now, oh, wait a minute now.
Uh-oh.
Hold on. Okay, so wait a minute. Well, I definitely agree with the video because I do feel like when a man is always I'm good or whatever. One of the things he mentioned is them not being able to sometimes articulate how they feel, or they're always putting up, this strong facade or whatever. I do believe that for whatever reasons that they're doing that for, because I know Chap mentioned sometimes, on the last discussion that maybe there was a situation where he didn't feel safe, maybe in another relationship, or maybe when they were a kid or whatever. But that's baggage. That those things are baggage. So as a woman, when I encounter a man like who wants to put up that facade or whatever, even in the beginning for me, because I'm still dating, I'm not married or anything, that's a red flag. You know what I'm saying? When a man can't, you know, just say, well, hey, how you doing? I could tell something's going on. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I'm fine, I'm straight. You know what I'm saying? How do you expect me to keep digging and digging and digging? If I'm not getting anything from you, then why is it on me to try to create this safe place for you when you're holding on to your emotions because of the baggage and whatever you experienced from before? Why am I being punished for what you experienced from before when I'm trying to create and cultivate, when we're trying to create and cultivate a relationship or whatever? You know what I'm saying? So I totally was in agreement with the video. We are both responsible for creating safe spaces for each other. But if I gotta fight so hard to get you to open up, then I'm kind of gonna move on. You know what I'm saying? But in a marriage, I could see if you've already married that person, because I know people who've married people who were tough as nails and they're not giving anything away, and they, emotionally unavailable. I know people who have married emotionally unavailable people. And I guess when you already in a marriage, then you got to kind of try to work through that and go to therapy. You don't leave them right away. But I know for me in dating, I'm not going to keep trying to bust down these walls. Like, just a lot of men, they always talk about the walls that women put up. Men have walls too.
Absolutely.
And it's not right for them to hold us accountable for trying to break those walls down when they already coming into the situation with no emotion. And I'm good, I'm straight, I'm good, and not really opening up. But I'm done.
You out, Tam?
Yeah, I'm done.
All right.
I said enough.
Okay. Who else got something?
What I would want to add is, if someone presents themselves to you as Superman, that is basically how I'm going to identify him every time I see him. And so I would prefer him just be authentic with himself about who he is. Because at this big age I am right now, listen, I have no time for you to be pretentious. I'm not looking for perfection. I'm not looking for someone that has it all together, because none of us have it all together. I'm
That is
willing to
correct.
accept some flaws because I'm gonna bring some flaws. You know what I'm saying? I'm coming into the relationship with some flaws. What I expect him to be though is just authentic, because if he introduces himself as Superman, that's how I'm gonna look for him to present himself every single time. And if we decide we're gonna make this thing a thing and we go for the long run, the moment you show a little bit of weakness, I may look at you differently. To be honest, I may just look at you a little bit different, because I'm looking at you for how you presented yourself, which is why I want you to be authentically you. Bring your weaknesses, bring your flaws. It's just like it's similar to a person who introduces themselves to you and they actually want to see you and somebody else. Just tell me the truth and let me tell you what I'm willing to deal with. Now, if you show me who you really are and I just feel like, you know what, yeah, as Tam said, I'm good on that. I don't want to deal with that. That should be up to my discretion. I should be able to do that, just as anybody else, is. But yeah, if he presents himself as someone that has it all together, you can handle everything, you don't have any problems, then more than likely that's how, realistically, I know that you have some problems because you're human. But if you present yourself as always having it together, you strong, you can handle everything, yeah, I'm going to look for you to do that.
Chief.
Wow. Man. So I don't agree with what he said, because Clark Kent wasn't who he is. Superman was who he really was.
Yes.
So
that's what he said.
Yeah, that's what he said.
He was hiding himself. And I think that where Lois comes into play, and that, if we must address this, we got to connect Lois to what this is, right? And the fact that it took him forever to even reveal is something to talk about. The fact that it took him forever to say, I'm really Superman, that space right there, if you know the story, it took a lot for him to really say those things, even after they had fallen in love, after, he had saved the world a few times, after he had stopped the train, he doing all these great things, but that's not what he came with, because sometimes who you really are, it can be intimidating, and that's not gender specific. So it can be intimidating. And I think that when we understand that in the beginning, it makes it a lot easier, to actually build from that space. But to say at the onset of something that we're something that we're not, of course, just like the last time we had this discussion, that's like the afterburner, right? We want to make sure that you stay. We want to make sure that he stays. So we present ourselves in a way that we think that person thinks that we're going to stay. And, when you get to that afterburner, or you hit, when you come out, when you break gravity, then it's really time to be that person that you are. Right. And he had a problem. He said, well, if you're not Superman, you're Clark Kent. Is that what he said? Right. You're not Superman, you're Clark Kent.
No.
No,
He was saying you're not. Yeah, he was saying you're not Superman, and Clark Kent was the dude who he had to pretend to be. But he was basically saying you're not Superman. Yeah, you can't do it all.
Yeah.
He was just basically letting him know that you can't do it all for these women, because that's what they're going to expect. You can't show no emotion and stuff because that's what they're going to expect. You got to come in.
Okay, so wouldn't that asks the question? It poses the question to me. What would, and this is just a general question. It's a general question. Let me preface this. What would a woman rather? Superman or Clark Kent, because he was actually a Superman trying to be somebody regular. He wasn't somebody regular trying to be somebody super. You know what
I think he just used the analogy to kind of say, stop pretending to be something you're not. Like Superman had to pretend to be Clark Kent, but he was really this strong person. But we're not that strong Superman person. So stop pretending to be Superman because we are humans. We're more like Clark Kent. I think that was what he was trying to
Yeah,
put in, to point out in the
that was the
analogy.
narrative he was trying to push.
Okay.
Mhm.
I'm a little bit indifferent with that, especially knowing who we are. But I'll leave it right there. Yeah.
So I'll say this. This is why authenticity is so important, though, from the beginning.
Yeah.
Because
Come on, Cheese.
Yeah, say it.
I think that's why a lot of us end up with the wrong people, because when you come into it from the beginning with a mask on, trying to be someone that you're not, trying to be anything other than your authentic self, as many of you have said, that's who I believe you to be, because that's who you presented before me. That's who you put before me. So when you come into something as your authentic self, when you're trying to build something with somebody or trying to be in a relationship with someone, that other person gets to decide if your authentic self is the right person for me.
Mhm.
Right.
With your flaws, with your this, with your that, with all of that, because none of us are perfect, right? And although we say we granted we've got to do our work, we got to make sure we're whole, we're healed, and all that stuff, but even in the midst of that, I'm still flawed as a man. You're still flawed as a woman. There's things that is my struggle. This is just who I am, right?
Mhm.
So, but when I bring that person to the table from the jump, you get to see me in my rawness and be like, this is my dude. Like, that's my
Right.
girl. Like, we can vibe. We can do this thing.
Yep. Yep.
But when you put that mask
Or
on,
not.
and now here it is, 6 months into this thing, 8 months into this thing, and that facade starts to melt away. That makeup starts to fade away, and I I start seeing who you really are. Now I'm frustrated. I'm pissed off. I'm mad at myself. I'm disappointed. I'm
Disappointed.
mad because I couldn't see it from the beginning. I couldn't see through the mask. All this stuff starts to come up, and we wonder why we having all these issues and this and that. And like, why can't you just show me you? Why couldn't you just be this person from the beginning? Why couldn't you just be you? Part of that is because as men, I want you to understand a man's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
We're taught from the very beginning that here's your posture
Yeah.
because you're a man. If you don't know how to do this, hey, this because you got to do this for you. You got to do this for your family. You got to do this for your kids. So every
Mm-hmm.
day I come out the blocks.
Yeah.
So how can we go into a relationship immediately saying, I go from
Yeah. You're right. You're right. You're right.
so that takes, so although it may seem like I'm not being myself, but I'm just holding some of me so I can see who you really are. But so it goes both ways, but
Mm-hmm.
it takes a lot of maturity. It takes a lot of growth. It takes a lot of
And unlearning.
processing and dealing with
And
stuff and going
unlearning.
through stuff to get to a point in your life where you say, you know what? I don't care about
Take me
what
as
you
I
think
am.
about this authentic
Mm-hmm.
dude, because I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna be me regardless. If
Right.
you like me, great. If you don't, save me some time, because I ain't got to spend my
Yeah.
time with the wrong nigga or the wrong person.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
but that takes takes a lot, though. You know what I'm saying? Some people don't get to that place till they hit their 50s or beyond. You know what I mean? Because that's just how life is. So we're talking about safe space now, though. It has to be, like Tanya said, it has to be a twofold. It has to be twofold. Matter of fact, Tamara said it. I want to create a safe space for you, and I want you to create a safe space for me. Because as a man, when I come into the thing like this, the question has to be asked: why won't you open up? Why do you feel so guarded? Why do you feel so tensed up? And why are you that way? We got to ask ourselves that question first. Why am I this way? Why am I so tense, so guarded? So because you've been hurt, because you've been messed over, because you've been taken for granted, because you've been taken advantage of, because you've been molested, because all these causes.
Right.
And until you deal with the root cause of why you're that way, men and women, it ain't just men. Until you deal with the root cause of why you're that way, you'll always go into a relationship with them walls up. You're gonna always do it, whether you think you're doing it or not. They're there because you have not dealt with the root cause of why you're that way. So then we have an expectation of the other person. I want you to create a safe space for me. But you haven't done your work. You haven't done your part to be the whole person you need to be, so that now I can live my life free. I'm not guarded, because I know that's just part of going through life, meeting people and getting to know people and introducing myself and taking that risk of putting myself out there. That's part of being in a relationship. That's part of getting to your guy, to your gal. You got to put yourself out there. Without fear of the hurt or the pain or what comes along with all that, because that's part of the journey. We got to learn how to learn and grow from stuff, as opposed to taking stuff so personal. And I know I'm saying it as in it's light and it's easy to do. I know it's not. I understand that, but if you want that in the relationship, that's what's required.
You have to be that. Absolutely. You have to. If you have to be what you desire, and what you desire will be yours. So you have to become what you want, for what you want in your relationship. You have to become that before you even are in a relationship, because then that's what's going to come to you. You know what I'm saying? Is what you've already become yourself. So that's definitely a big.
In the process of becoming what you want, man, in the process of doing that, you learn so much about you. You learn so much about what it takes to get to that place, so that when something comes before you that hasn't walked that journey to become their self,
you could be like,
you will identify that like,
yes, Lord.
No, sis, you ain't it. Nope.
Yeah.
Because I've already walked that journey of that pain and that work that it takes to get to this place.
That's right.
So I can easily identify a fraud. Because you walk the walk. I got the t-shirts. Come on, I got the souvenirs. I've been down that road. I know what it looks like.
Yep.
Thoughts.
Yep.
I wanted to say that society has served a role of what men and women should look like and how they should present. And we've tried to ascribe to those roles, and some people have failed miserably. As a result of that, it takes each individual definitely seeking out or pursuing some emotional intelligence and emotional maturity, so that you can, not necessarily not be judgmental when you do come into someone's space and they begin to share about themselves. I'll say this for an example. I recently started dating somebody, and I can't say they either presented I can't say they presented themselves as either Superman or Clark Kent. But what they did, which was very unlike anybody else that I've dated, which put everything about themselves out there on Front Street. Everything. And it was a lot. It was a lot to deal with. So I had to ask myself, would you prefer someone that presented themselves as perfect, hadn't done anything, can fix any problem. They're going to be every single thing that you like. They came tailor made for me, or someone that is completely honest. They know where they are. They've assessed their life. They know exactly where they are. And listen, I'm going to give you this, and you decide if this is what
Take
you
it or
want to
leave
do or
it.
not.
Mhm.
And I said, because I was so shocked, I was shocked and pleased at the same time. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm up for a challenge. And I'm willing to accept this challenge, first of all, because you were honest. You didn't come, it's since we're talking about using the analogy of Superman and Clark Kent, you didn't come as Superman. And later in conversations that we've had, they showed another side of themselves, which was the vulnerable side, which is very difficult for men to do. So apparently there was a safe space that was created. And if this is what happens in a safe space, I've never experienced this before. I'm 52, was married 16 years, and I've never really experienced this where the man, I don't know if I created the safe space, we created the safe space, or this was just who this man is. Listen, let me just share this with you. I'm struggling here. I've done that. This is who I am. Can you handle me? Is basically what they said. But because they were honest with themselves, which caused them to be honest with me, I was like, oh yeah, I'm down for this challenge. I can do this.
Mhm.
I can
Mhm.
do
Yeah,
this.
because that's one of the best ways. Oh, I'm sorry, Tamara. That's one of the
Oh,
best ways to create. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
One of the best ways to create a safe space is to be that for somebody else, and you start with what
That's
he
what I was
did.
going to say.
Like, hey, here's where I am. Here's my truth. Here's all of this stuff about me, so that you can feel safe doing the same for me, telling me your truth and all of the stuff. Because that's the only. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't want to go into a relationship having to wonder about what I didn't tell you, what I can't tell you, what I'm not sure if I should tell you, because that's just not built on what kind of foundation is that? It's all about the
Right.
foundation you set and you build from the very beginning. And I
Right.
want it to be something solid. So if I can't tell you all my truth, then I'm not really being my authentic self. And our relationship starting off being built on rocky ground. You know what I'm saying? So, oh, go ahead, Tamara.
And also, I wanted to add with that, your response is what also let him know that he can continue. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying with you? Because if you were judgmental, if you were, oh, I'm like, so, if you had any type of responses that would have made him feel shame or whatever in whatever he was telling you, your response let him know that he was in a safe space. You know what I'm saying? So just like my guy up here said, he was giving you the honesty so you could be safe. Your response allowed him to be safe and to know that he could continue to pursue something with you because you created that for him, just in you listening and not being judgmental or negative or
Right.
stuff like that. So it happened at the same time, basically. Both of you guys did it at the same time, created
Right.
it for each other.
But
Again,
Latonya, let me ask you this.
uh-huh.
So and I'm only saying it because you already mentioned it. You already put it out there. So you say you're 52.
Right.
So how long would you say it took you to get to this place in your life?
Hmm. I was just about to make reference again to the previous statement, which is individually, we have to get to a point where we are honest with ourselves. I'm not really emotionally intelligent. I'm lacking a little bit. I can definitely grow in this area. Emotionally, I need to grow in a particular area so that not only can I accept my truth, but I can accept the truth of anybody else that come into my life, whether that's a platonic relationship, a professional relationship, a romantic relationship, whatever type relationship it may be. We have to make that individual decision to do this hard work. It's not easy. It can be difficult, certainly challenging, but it is possible. Now, for me to directly answer your question, it took a while because remember, I just said I was in a marriage for 16 years. So for there was no challenge necessarily in that marriage. There was no challenging me. To look at some things about myself, it was just kind of cool. It was stagnant. It had reached its ceiling. And But I realized some things about me, and so I had to start doing the work that I was just making reference to. And I can't tell you that it's done. It's a daily thing. It's on a continuum. Right when I think, in fact, I thought I had done well. I'm doing okay because I started some work after my marriage ended. But then when I met this individual, I got to do some work. I still have to do some additional work, in order for that relationship to flourish. So it took a while. It took a while. I think it's a lifelong thing, honestly.
Yeah, no doubt. I tell you, you mentioned emotional intelligence, and I'm telling you, I just took a course on that a couple weeks ago, and it blew my mind at things that were revealed in that course, and I'll share some of it with you guys here tonight. One of the things was you'll treat others the way you feel about yourself.
True.
So that's another reason why it's so important for us to be real with the person in the mirror, first of all. But here's something that really blew me away right here, y'all. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who can't read or write, but those who can't learn, unlearn, and relearn.
Ooh.
Come on. Because think about this. Matter of fact, Coach East, Chap and I both served in the Army 20 plus years, right? So Chap is now in the automotive industry. I am in the DOD. So, but we came from the military background. So we have all this 20 plus years of military training under our belts of experience and whatnot, leading soldiers and into war and everything else. But he's now in the automotive industry, customer service. So customer focused industry. I'm in the DOD, also customer focused industry, where it's all about the customer. It's all about the client. It's all about them and making sure their needs are satisfied, et cetera, et cetera. Chap, share with us how, to the statement I just read, in the 21st century, the illiterate aren't those who can't read or write, but those who can't learn, unlearn, and relearn. How has that applied to the industry that you're now in order for you to be successful?
Oh, wow. That's a gambit, man. Because life like automatically generates trends, and your character presents itself, and your character is gonna answer that question for you. Your character is under observation all the time, and if I'm observing you, that's gonna tell me if you're gonna be able to learn, unlearn, and what was the other one? And relearn. Right? Your character would tell me that in the front of it all. So your pride or your ego, if you're not receptive to change, that will be obvious in the beginning. And a lot of times, my mom used to say, the bitter medicine is the best medicine. And a lot of times it takes something. I know in the things that I've seen, it takes people losing $1 million in order to get it. It shouldn't have to, because all the signs were there. Like, hey, you might not want to go this way. Like, I don't know if you guys heard about CDK and what just happened with them. They held a lot of these industries under ransom for $80 million. Now, the warning signs were already there the entire time. They were saying, hey, we're coming for you. We're coming for you. We're coming for you. Nobody listened. And now you have all this data that you seized. And I'm asking you, in order to get it back, you got to give me $80 million. So the people that are now being held hostage had an opportunity to learn the trend. Okay, if this keeps happening, we might want to pay attention to it. Unlearn what used to work but doesn't work, and relearn what now is going to keep us safe and keep our customers safe. Mm-hmm. So go it in relationships, right? So go it in life. When you are inside of something, and just like Miss Ingram was saying, inside of this, now that all this has been presented to you, there's an intentionality there, right? And your observation at this point is this brother intentional about change? So he presented this, or did he present this just to say, deal with it? Because there's a difference. There's a huge difference. Sometimes people just want to say things just so you'll know this is me, But if I'm real and serious about you, you're going to see my process and how I change because I want to be where you are. You know, there's one thing I always say people that always refer to their past and where they came from are still back there. Right. But if that's all you ever talk about, it's clear that you're still there. But if you're telling me this and you're telling me this because I believe with you, I can move forward. I believe that with you, I can move forward. Tell me that I should see that as we proceed forward. Such is life, right? Like in every relationship that we're in, you know, such is life. My daughter was just in this church and they decided to leave the church, and the things that they did for them with the baby shower, the church asked for the stuff back. So me being who I am, it posed a question: how intentional were they about your soul? You know, you have to be aware of that. And I don't think they were intentional about their souls at all, you know. And at the
membership.
At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Like, it's my job to make you better, because every time I come into your presence, one way or the other, you should be made better than you was before I got here. So
Come on now.
That's my explanation of it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Ladies, you got any comments on that one? That's good stuff right there, Chief.
Chap said something earlier that brought that. I'm sorry, he said so much that was so meaty. I can't remember what he said verbatim, but it brought this thought to mind. We can know that we're not in the best place. Our past relationships can indicate that we need to change. You know, if we really do some self-evaluation, there's some things that we need to change. However, because that change is so difficult and we're not up for the challenge, we'll just chalk it off by saying, oh, that's just who I am, or that's just how I am, because the actual work is so difficult. And one thing that's difficult for humans is to change. We don't like adapting to something new, although this old thing can be killing us. We don't want to do what it takes to establish a new normal. We rather talk about it. It's so much easier to talk about it than actually put feet to work and do something about it. When there's so much better waiting on you when you just do the work. You know, this transitional discomfort doesn't last long, but we won't even attempt to go through the transition because it's taking us out of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's so many ankle biters in that, because I think we discussed this a couple of lessons ago. When challenge presents itself, you either going to run away or you're going to run towards it. You know,
right?
And a lot of times we choose what's comfortable, which is where we came from, and we don't choose to win. We don't choose to fall forward. We choose, I'm gonna stay back here because I remember how comfortable this is. And even though, you know, it's chaos, it's chaotic, there's confusion here, I'm used to this.
I know this, right? I'm familiar with that.
Right,
yeah.
Right. And the challenge of me becoming better is presented by somebody else. And so the other ankle biter, okay, pride. Who does he think he is? Who does she think she is? Well, it's really not about that person. It's about this thing presented itself. And you should take this opportunity, be receptive to it, and say, how can I grow from here? You know, so pride is an ankle biter. Ego is an ankle biter, right? It keeps us from moving forward. You know, what's the acronym? Edging God out. when you present yourself as a certain way, and because you are, and you think that you're that way, you close yourself off to learning and growing and becoming better. And this person is only trying to make you better. They're not trying to leave you where you are. They're really trying to show you a difference and how you can move past your former self. You know, I believe, can't remember who said it, but it says when somebody asks you where it hurts, sometimes that means I was 17 when that happened. But when the question opens itself, it's time to talk about, you know, because maybe 50, but you're 17 years old and you never left the place. You know, maybe, 40, but emotionally you're 25 years old. Well, that trauma happened and you never left that place. And as soon as something presents itself that looks like that or challenges you to move from that, you either going to recluse or you're going to come out of that. You know, so that's one of those places that we encounter. And unfortunately, a lot of people, include our parents, our parents' parents, our parents' parents' parents, they all did these things. you know, and it kind of forced us to try to figure this thing out. But thanks be to God.
Thanks be to God.
Right.
Yes,
But
Lord. Yes,
God, I know
Lord.
that's right.
So,
Well, I could definitely say, oh, go ahead, Chan.
go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Well, I could definitely say, beware of the people who say I'm stuck in my ways,
Mm-hmm.
because that is a clear indication that there's no more room for growth.
Yeah.
No more room for growth. I know the guy that I just ended, my little dating situation with. He said that in the beginning, and I posed the question to him. I said, really, you stuck in your ways? I said, well, then that means there's nothing more for you to learn, nothing more for you. It's no more growing for you to do. Is that really what you? So when he thought about it, he was like, well, I guess, but really, no, he's stuck in his ways, because before we even get to the year, child, I was like, oh, nope. but but yeah, beware people who are, because even though that's just a saying, people are truly stuck. People are truly stuck. Just like Chat was saying, you may be stuck way back when you was an 8-year-old little boy. You may be stuck way back when you was a 6-year-old little girl and that thing happened to you. You know what I'm saying? Or when you were 17. That's where you're emotionally, that's where you're stuck at. You know what I'm saying? And it's hard to try to have a relationship, especially when you've done your work. It's hard to try to have a relationship with someone who hasn't. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, even though I was trying to, I realized, yeah, this ain't gonna work. Like, it's just not gonna work. But hey, at the end of the day, just like you said, now the illiterate is gonna be whether or not you're willing to unlearn, relearn. You know what I'm saying? Because people are so, and it's really with relationships, because it's gonna be a lot of people that are by themselves. You know what I'm saying? Because they cannot unlearn what they've learned, the toxicity that they've learned, or the way that they cope with things. Just because you learned a way to cope with something, and you, in your mind, you've done so well over these years, you really haven't. Because when you take a inventory of your relationships, you know what I'm saying? Even with your kids or you really haven't. People have just tolerated you. But when you're only having surface relationships with people, that's because they don't want to go deep with you, because you don't have the capacity to go deep. You know what I'm saying? Because you coped in such a way that was negative. You know what I'm saying? You close down, you shut down, you isolate. You know what I'm saying? And then you pop back out, and everybody, you think people are your friends. No, they're just friends with you up here. They know that, you know what I'm saying? They know they can't go down here. So yeah, they still gonna answer your call and, hey, how you doing? But there's no real deep, there's no deeply rooted relationships there, because you learned this coping mechanism, and now you're 60 something. This is somebody else I'm talking about. Now you're 60 something, and you think that this is good the way you've been dealing with things.
Yeah.
But your kids are distant from you. All the friends that you say you have, they only call you if somebody dies. Like, there's no, hey, how you doing? There's no real relationships going on. And it's like, just because you've managed all these years doesn't mean that what you decided to use to cope was the best thing. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't the thing that was really gonna help you cultivate healthy relationships. It's just something that's keeping you isolated. You're not handling your situations. You're isolating and then popping out when you think it's gone. It's never gone.
Yeah.
It's never gone. It's there, and it shows up and it pops out. You know what I'm saying? When things are happening, when you're facing challenges, but it's never gone. So
Yeah.
a lot of us have learned to cope in ways that were not good, and those are the things that we have to unlearn.
Yeah.
But you have to really take an inventory of, like Tanya said, you got to go back and you got to look and you got to start reflecting on, well, how have those past relationships been, and where were the pitfalls? You know what I'm saying? What are the things that I need to change so that my relationships can be better, and so that I will choose, people that I can have better relationships with? Because a lot of times our trauma is what allows us to choose the people that ain't even right for us in our lives. You know what I'm saying? Because it's comfort. the trauma that we've had, we choose people that are familiar to our trauma, a lot of times. So it's just important to start that work, and the work really begins at just that reflection, that self-reflection, that mirror work, just looking in the mirror and just taking an inventory of what has happened and what has been.
Right.
Yeah, you got to know your icebergs. That iceberg, we see what's on the surface, but the largest part of the iceberg is underneath the surface, underneath the water. And we got to know that for ourselves. But what you just described, Tamara, is truly the definition of being unequally yoked. And so in that, I mean, like you say, you've done the work. You walked down this tough, hard journey to get to where you are now. And somebody who hadn't done that, your perspectives are so different. Like it's like talking to the wall, because they cannot understand where you're coming from, because they have not walked that journey. They can't understand what it takes to get here because they haven't done it. So when you're trying to simply have a conversation, a general conversation, they're lost because I can't relate. I don't get it. So now here's the choice. You either choose to walk their journey with them, or you walk away. Because if you anything other than that, you're gonna frustrate yourself to death, because I'm like, man, listen, I can't do this. This is just too much. But you get that choice. But you don't get that choice if you don't get the true authentic person from the very beginning. Because all you're getting is the representative of who they want to present to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. So in essence, the safe space starts with us. It starts with us, and presenting ourselves, and showing who we want to be ourselves. And here's something else. So I had to use myself. So I'm the procrastinator, right? So my wife is the timeline, everything, planning, boom, that's her. So because that's one of my icebergs, is procrastination. And this is something I learned during the emotional intelligence class. When you're dealing with a procrastinator, you got to make sure that you follow up earlier and often.
That's good.
So because she's been consistently doing that, and I know that that's the person that she is, and when it comes to certain things like planning a trip, she tell me she want to do something, or she tell me she want me to do something around the house or a project or whatever. Because I know her, I know that I can't not just that I can't procrastinate, but because I know if I do, she's following up earlier and she's following up often, and that's gonna frustrate me. So to prevent that, I make a mental note to get ahead of that, so that I don't have to hear, all that stuff. But that's one of the ways that we help each other, because there are things that are her icebergs, and I know, and vice versa, and you just do those things. But when we know we have an iceberg, to gain confidence in that area, or to become better in that area, it takes two things: knowledge and practice. You got to know the information that you need to become better at that thing, and you got to practice doing it to become consistent at it, so it no longer, like Chap just said, it no longer becomes an ankle biter for you, an iceberg for you. That's the work that I'm talking about, that we have to apply to ourselves, and whatever it is for you, knowledge and practice. That's what will enable you, or that thing, to no longer become a thing for you. So that when you get into these relationships or get into these conversations with other folks, because you've done that for yourself, you will easily be able to identify it for those who haven't. And you won't either waste your time, or you get to choose, like, you know what? I can be that person who checks in and follows up to help them get to not being a procrastinator or whatever their thing is. So you get to make that choice.
Right.
But you can't do that if they don't give you their authentic self. All right, what y'all got?
Well, somebody put something in the chat.
but you become so used to protecting yourself, you won't see it. Red flags cause people to step back quickly, even if it's a false flag. Correct. I agree. To a point. Because all right. Okay, let's use real world. Tamara, you just explained this. You said you saw a red flag from the beginning,
Mhm.
right? That was presented to you from the beginning. Why did you not walk away then?
Because I just wanted to see if maybe, I don't know. I still was intrigued to see if there was going to be room to grow. You know what I'm saying? Because he checked so many other boxes. I was kind of like, well, let's see. You know what I'm saying? But I definitely went in once I heard that. I kind of already had in my head, well, this might not work. You know what I'm saying? But I just want to see where it can go. And so when I was ready to chuck the deuces, there was no hurt. I wasn't hurt about it. It wasn't no hurt feelings. I wasn't crying about it. It wasn't something that hit me so deeply because when that was presented at the beginning, I had already was like, okay, this might be somebody I got to walk away from because he's not where he needs to be emotionally or just in how he handles life in certain areas. You know what I'm saying? The shutting down and it's like, yeah, no, we too grown for that. Like,
Too grown.
you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, no, I'm going through something. So I just kind of get in my little, okay, well, I guess, but yeah, I'm not. Because to me, that's not creating a safe space. That's not a safe space. You know what I'm saying? And even though that's the way he's handled it all these years, it's not a safe space for him because he's isolating himself, so he's not able to share with anybody, to get any feedback from anybody. He's just reclusing and being mad about whatever, and then when he pops back out, then it's just basically swept up under the rug. Nah, that ain't how you got to deal with things, right? So he's not creating the safe space for me, for him, and in turn, it didn't create a safe space for me because if you're gonna shut down on me, then you ain't safe for me. You know what I'm saying? And if you shutting down to handle it, in your mind, like I said, it's not safe for him, and then it ended up not being safe for me because you can't shut down on me. Where you at? Like, you know what I'm saying? The isolation, no, that let me know I can't go further in this because then we're gonna have these moments where you isolating and I don't even want to be in something like that ever again. I've already been there and done that. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be there again. And I know that's regressing for me, even though that's something he's been doing for years. So, but yeah.
That's what I was gonna ask you. I was gonna ask you, how did you feel now? And you just said you wasn't bitter, upset, and that's good. That's important because if you were, then that's your fault. Because
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So I'm glad
Yeah.
you walked away from that with that understanding,
Mhm.
and you learned something about yourself.
Absolutely.
You stood your ground, which is great. What was I gonna say? Chap, you got something?
I think one of the biggest things, one of the things we have to be mindful of when it comes to dating is you're not going to find somebody else you're not going to find yourself in somebody else. You just, you're not going to find that person, and learning how to gauge that is key in how you overcome and or they overcome. But the expectation can't be this is how I would do it, so I expect you to be that way. That can't be the expectation because you're dealing with another person with different life experiences. And even though we're passionate about them becoming better, we also have to understand that that's a whole different, being with a whole different mindset that we have to work through. And then the other thing I wanted to mention was, I think it was Dale Bronner that said that you can come home every day, and this is just about self. You can come home every day and spider webs out of the corner. Hey, you got spider webs in the corner. You go to your pantry or your garage and you grab the broom and you knock these spider webs down. but every day you come home to the same spider webs, but you never kill the spider. You never search for the spider. You never search for those things that are actually causing this problem, getting to the root of me, getting to the root
Yes,
of us,
Lord.
because, why am I always broke? That's a spider. You know what I mean? It ain't because you're not making money. The debt is the cobwebs, but the spider, right? That's the problem. And that's probably like you're bad with money. Or why am I always finding myself in a situation when it comes to a certain type of people? Well, those are cobwebs. The spider is you haven't resolved that within yourself to say, I'm not going to do this anymore to me. And those are the things that we have to be aware of, are the spiders, because they're going to keep coming and they're going to keep showing up. And we just keep knocking them down to make the house clean. But really, he's just on the other side of the wall waiting, waiting for you to leave to do it all over again. And that's how trauma works. Trauma works that same way. It just waits for you to feel like it's better. And as soon as you lock that door and leave for work, it creeps out of the wall and does the same thing all over again. And so I think we have to be conscious enough and aware enough, either individual or as couples, to say, hey, we got a spider in our house. We have a spider in our relationship. And I'm tired of knocking these cobwebs down. We got to kill the spider, right? And we both have to be intentional enough about that. If not, it'll just never happen. It just multiplies and multiplies, and the problem becomes a lot greater when you could have just killed one spider and resolved everything.
Your analogy is top tier.
Yeah, that was on point right there. Mr. Michael Thornton said, I see false flags, but I remain because my inner spirit man showed me that. So I was able to open up and see I am in a safe space, move ego aside. So here's the thing about false flags. False flags aren't necessarily a bad thing. But this is why, seeking God about the person that you're involved with is important, because he'll give you direction, he'll give you guidance, he'll give you understanding and knowledge as it relates to this situation, because it could just be they're trying to protect themselves because they don't know you yet fully. You know what I mean? So they may not reveal everything to you at that initial conversation. So you gotta use wisdom. You gotta use discernment. You gotta use that women's intuition or whatever we call it with the men too. And not just after the first date be like, yeah, I'm out. Nope, this ain't it. You know what I mean? So we gotta allow his spirit to lead us in all things, of course. Don't never want to take that away from anything. But it's just we're just trying to articulate and understand that safe space is a responsibility of both parties. It's not just something that the other person owes to us. We owe that to ourselves by being honest and transparent with ourselves first, to identify our own icebergs, our own issues, and deal with those things appropriately, so that I can come into any relationship, whether it's professional, personal, or whatever, my authentic self, not having to feel like I got to be something or someone that I'm not because I'm trying to gain something from the other person. This is who I am, and even if that's who I am requires some work, I understand that as well, and I'm going to let you know that as well. Yeah, I'm working on this part of me right here. But this is where I am. I'll say it like that, not who, but this is where I am in my walk, in my journey. And if you choose to walk alongside me, great. If not, hey, I understand. Shake dust off my feet, shake dust off yours, and we go in our merry ways.
Yeah.
What time we got? Oh man,
It's over. Yeah.
Time, girl.
Marquise would have been like, yeah, so we got 10 minutes. We got 5 minutes.
Wow.
I saw it go over 1 hour. I was like, well, here we are.
Listen, we were coming up on that.
It was good. It was so good.
Analogy. I was so caught up in that analogy. I was like, you know what? Whatever. That's it. Hey, I like that.
That is his gift. He is a teacher by nature, by everything. Wow. He is a teacher. So I definitely appreciate those analogies. He got some good ones.
Man, he's good. He's good.
My goodness. Man. Any other comments or questions in the chat, Latanya?
As I'm pulling them up, I'd like to say this. If I had any parting words before we leave, it would be in terms of the safe space. You may have already addressed it, though, that we would create a safe space for ourselves to be honest and true with ourselves.
Yeah.
Therefore, when we encounter other people, we won't have a problem being a safe space for them, because we will
Absolutely.
learn how to address truth, speak truth, and accept truth within ourselves. We are the safe space. Be your own safe space first, and then you won't have a problem being somebody else's safe space.
Yeah. Starts with us.
Absolutely.
Starts with us. Whether it's a what we call it, a season or a lifetime, everybody ain't in your life forever. You know,
Yeah.
it's a season or a lifetime, and we got to be able to know the difference. And when it's time for that season to be over, we got to be able to let them go and understand that I'm okay. You know, it's okay. You know, you're not my forever. You're my seasonal. So
Yeah.
I'm cool with that. But that starts with ourselves. You're right. It starts with knowing ourselves, knowing who we are, and all of that. So
I hope I don't find my forever though.
Yeah.
Yeah, Erwin says it's based on the individual and individuality. Yep, starts with us. Any parting words from you, Chief, or Miss Tamara?
Well, definitely, I'll leave with be what you desire, so what you desire can be yours.
Ooh.
All right, I like it. Chief?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I guess it just connects with what everybody is saying, man. You gotta just own you, you know, own the good and bad and the ugly. I was talking to my sister yesterday, and I said, there's a version of myself that I don't like, and there's a version of myself that I want to be, and I'm somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
I have to own all three of those and be accountable for whatever I'm good at and whatever I'm bad at. I have to learn that I'm one being with all those people, and manage myself that way with that understanding, but denying that I don't have any issues, and you know that won't get you there. You know, denying that, you know, I got a bad temper, or I'm bad with this, or I'm bad with that. Denying those things won't make you any better. You know, it's when you actually own your story, so your story doesn't own you. That's how you actually grow and make
Your truth will set you free.
you know you know. It's liberating when you can actually come into that and say,
Yes, Lord.
this is all who I am, and that's what it is, you know. So, but by His grace, man, by His grace.
Awesome. That's one of the reasons why I'm so transparent, because I am that way, because the way I see it is if I'm open and honest with myself and with everybody around me, the enemy can't use it against me.
Yeah.
So and look, this me. So you can't try to pull something out my closet and pull up. Look, man, I'm giving you my truth.
Yeah.
So
I already told you.
I don't care. You know what you gonna bring up on me? I'm telling you everything up front. So that's one of the reasons why I do that. And so my wife and I, even though we've been together, oh my God, this year will be 25 years married, 35 together, and we're still learning and unlearning and relearning, you know, about and all that's doing for us is causing our love to go deeper and deeper and deeper.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful thing, man. And I wish people, relationships, couples could get to this place where we are. I asked her the other day, I said, babe, I said, can you reflect upon a time when you were the happiest in your life? And she told me, right now. There's nothing better she could have told me. I mean, y'all, we've been together since 1989. You hear me?
Wow.
And I would say the happiest she's ever been in her life is right now. That's what every spouse, male or female, should want to hear from the other person that's in their life. But that's a result of, I do what we call temperature checks. We do check-ins. Yeah. So randomly, I just, hey, babe, how am I doing? Give me a grade. Give me a report card. Yeah. And she'll tell me how I'm doing. I don't take offense to it. I don't get upset. But I apply it, and I do it out knowledge and practice. And so then from that point, from that check-in forward, guess what's on my mind? On the forefront of my heart? What she just told me. So now those things become my priority. Because I want to always
put that ego to the side.
Doing better and just because we change as we get older. You know what I mean? We're not the same. She's not the same person she was when she was 12 when I met her. I was 15. So we got to constantly be evolving and revolving and learning and unlearning and relearning.
Yes.
And be able to do that together.
Deeper and deeper. And that connection. Oh my goodness. It's a beautiful thing.
So,
yeah, it's beautiful, man. I don't know if y'all can sit it or see it, but I tell you.
So something something really special I heard in what you was just saying is that she's able to tell you a grade and you don't get offended. And that's a big thing about being in relationship is that ego has to be put down to the
Yeah.
wayside.
Yeah.
If you really want to be able to have longevity with somebody,
Yeah.
you got to put that ego down, man, and be able so that y'all can be real with each other and not get offended and defensive, and then there's arguments, and you know what I'm saying? It's
Right.
that's a beautiful thing
Yeah.
that y'all are able to do that with each other for real.
That
Yeah,
is.
because I don't need it with her. I don't need my ego with her.
Yeah.
I
Right,
do that.
right,
I need that out there. I don't need it here. This
Right.
is my safe
right,
space.
right,
If this can't
right.
be my safe space, where can I get it?
Right.
Where can I
Exactly.
get it?
Exactly.
That's where it has to be.
Yeah.
Man, if everybody understood that, boy, woo-wee.
I
My
tell you.
goodness.
I know.
Man,
I know, right, Tam? I'm feeling that too.
my goodness.
God.
Wow.
Oh, brother,
Jesus.
you know how they say that was a panty dropper? That was a boxer dropper.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, there's a such thing. Okay.
My shorts would have came all the way off. Let's go.
Taught me
Yes,
something
sir.
new.
I love it. I love it.
Something
I
tonight.
love it. Man, I want to say I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Hey, please like, share, tell somebody about this
Yeah.
thing. We're just trying to help people. That's all we're trying to do. We're just trying to help people
Yep.
in any way
Yep.
we can. And this is how we do it on this platform. So we appreciate you guys joining us. And also check out our sisters page as well, from Soul Pieces to Soul Peace.
Yeah.
Headed up by Latanya Ingram. Awesome thing that the ladies are doing on that side. And we want you to support them in whatever way you can. So tune in again on our next episode. I don't know what it'll be yet, but it's going to be something good for you.
Yes.
So until next time, Chief, close out, big dog.
Father, we thank you for all that our eyes have seen and our ears have heard, all that you have communicated through us, God. We know that it is all to your glory. We are better right now because of this, and it's all because of Lord, we just want to say thank you. We're humbled by the fact that you're strengthening us, you're healing us, and that those that heard us on tonight, Lord, they're only becoming better. And it's by your spirit, it's by your grace, by your love, God. I pray that you would just be with us until the next time, God. Let us go in peace. Let us go in love. Let us go impacting and changing lives, oh God. Let people know and see you through us each and every day. Us. Father, we're forever grateful. We thank you, Lord God. We pray that you give us peace on tonight, give us good rest in your Son and our Savior's Jesus' name. Amen.
Yes.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Amen.
All right, y'all, hold tight.
Good night.
Sir, good night, y'all.
Yes, indeed.